At the beginning of the movie, we see a couple relaxing on the coast of Italy in the Bay of Silence. In a church, the man admits that he is consumed by sinful thoughts about a charming widow, a famous photographer. Later, they are left alone right on the street, joking that they will buy an old house on a cliff. They radiate carefree happiness. While swimming, the man pretends to drown, then slips a handmade ring onto the woman's finger and asks her to say yes. She replies that they need to ask the twins first, and they kiss. 8 months later in London, Will carries pregnant Rose into their new house in his arms. He shows her where her studio will be. Then Nanny Candy arrives with the twin girls. They joyfully play and bury Will in the sand. Rose steps onto the balcony to photograph the happy moment. She leans on the old railing and suddenly falls from the second floor. At the hospital, doctors save the baby. It's a boy. But when Rose wakes up, she suddenly asks where the second child is. Will says there was only one baby, but she doesn't believe him. 6 months later, they throw a party for relatives. The boy is given an Italian name, Amedeo. Rose's mother, Vivian, criticizes her daughter for the choice, but then her new suitor calls, and she leaves. Rose's mother's former admirer, Milton, arrives to congratulate her and gives her a gold necklace. He accidentally spills champagne on Rose's friend Becca, who goes to change and runs into Will in the house. She tells him she dances at a club, flirts with the man, and slips a note with her number into his pocket. Will reads to the twins at night and goes to bed, but wakes up to strange noises. Rose is scratching the wall, saying that someone needs to be pulled out. In the morning, the man goes to work, and a colleague mentions that her sister suffered from postpartum depression. Will then gets a call from the nanny, saying Rose suddenly took the baby to a clinic. He rushes there and finds his wife at the cemetery near the hospital. There is a mass grave for infants. The woman insists that everyone is lying to her. Will goes to Milton to talk about his wife. Milton believes Rose hasn't recovered from childbirth. He mentions that she often underwent therapy with a Swiss psychologist. It also turns out that Milton once served in military intelligence. On his wall hangs a photo of teenage Rose, taken by the famous photographer Raven. It's worth tens of thousands of dollars. The artist was Rose's mother's half-brother and left her the old house in France. At home, Will talks to his wife, but she denies having depression. At the same time, she doesn't remember how she hurt her hand or why the wallpaper was changed. In the morning, the man leaves for a business trip, and a courier delivers a package for his wife. Will comes home after dark. The house is wrecked, and the word liar is written on the wall. His wife and children are gone, their passports too. Milton shows up saying that Rose had called, was furious, and said she was leaving. The husband wants to call the police, but Milton persuades him not to. Will can't reach Rose and starts going through her things, hoping for clues. He inspects the package. It's from France. Under the wrapping is a photo of 3 people in front of a house with the words, "I forgive you." In the morning, Will finds a book by the photographer who had taken pictures of Rose as a child. This man is also in the photo that was sent. Will goes to a gallery and learns that the artist lived in Normandy and that his early works are impossible to obtain. At home, he opens the package. It contains a suitcase with photo equipment and negatives. He wants to print the pictures, but then the phone rings. Through static, a girl's voice asks for Will. She says someone needs to come and put mommy in the stroller. Suddenly the call cuts off. He dials the number again, but hears only a French answering machine. The man travels to the house in Normandy that Rose's mother had inherited. The abandoned building looks like the one in Italy his wife had loved. Suddenly, Will hears the voices of the twins. The girls are playing on the shore. They say their mother won't leave the house, wants to sit in the dark. Amedeo is sick, and the nanny has disappeared. They push a stroller filled with shells and trash. Then they suddenly abandon it and say Amedeo must stay outside. Will digs through the stroller and finds his dead son. He wants to call for help, but the girls beg him not to leave them. The man finds Rose in a distant room, and she is out of her mind. She doesn't say what happened. Will tries to take her away, but the children scream, and in panic she pushes her husband down the stairs. Then she suddenly recognizes him and says they need to rest, lying down to sleep with the girls. Will tries to call her mother and then the police, but changes his mind. He buries his son on the shore and burns his belongings. In the morning, he sees a young man wandering near the house. Will had seen him earlier in a bar, where he claimed not to know Rose. When Will leads his wife to the car, she suddenly throws herself into the arms of this stranger. The young man says she needs a doctor, and Will nods. The man takes his wife to Switzerland to her psychologist. Her mother is there as well. Vivian asks if her daughter had been taking her medicine. She says Rose hadn't had any episodes since meeting Will. It turns out the pills Rose had been taking for migraines were actually for schizophrenia. The illness began at age 14, after she was assaulted by the photographer's assistant Pierre in the same village where Rose had now fled. Milton's lawyer secured the maximum sentence for him, but the locals all defended the boy. Will shows Vivian the photo, with Pierre on it. He is furious. Why was everything hidden from him? He tells his mother-in-law that he buried Amadeo to protect his wife. After all, the nanny had disappeared, and everyone would suspect her. Vivian doesn't believe Rose killed the child and tells him to leave, to find Candy, while she will take care of her daughter and granddaughters. Will returns home and calls the nanny's acquaintances, but without success. Then he throws away his son's things and finds unopened pills for schizophrenia. At night, a journalist calls and questions him about some kind of accident. Then Will once again sees the stranger near the house. In the morning, he meets with Milton. The man explains that he made up the story that Rose was hurt in an accident abroad and procured fake documents for it, with the French consul's signature. Will says that he is being watched and constantly called. Milton gives him money and begs him not to involve the police, but to wait until Rose starts talking. Then, they will decide what to do. Will insists he must know how his child died. Later, he goes to a club and tries to track down Rose's friend Becca. At home, he develops the negatives from the package and takes the prints to a gallery. The expert is astonished, saying these are photos from Raven's long-lost Normandy series in the Garden of Good and Evil. He mentions the rape, saying that photos of the young victim were found with the photographer's assistant, though it could have been Raven himself. The victimized girl was never questioned because of trauma. It's possible she is the one in the pictures. Later, Will confesses to a colleague that he doesn't know how he'll cope once his wife returns home. Rose returns and, as if nothing happened, starts working again, but she takes her pills on schedule. Her mother told her they had been in a car accident and the baby had died. The doctor had warned Will that schizophrenia could cause amnesia, but Rose talks about her son as if unsure he had ever existed. Suspiciously, she asks where his belongings are. Will says he put them away because it was too painful. He asks why she never told him about the medication and why she stopped taking it. But Rose stays silent. She smiles while talking with the girls on the phone, not looking at all like a grieving mother. That evening, Will goes out again searching for Becca. A man follows him, and then he receives a message from an unknown sender asking, "Why do people say it was an accident?" Over dinner, Will suggests to Rose that they should move to that house in Italy, but his wife suddenly wonders, if they really had a car accident, why is their car still intact? Will lets her smell their son's towel. Rose remembers that she got pregnant and stopped taking her pills so she wouldn't harm the baby. She also recalls hands pulling her through a window and the girls crying, perhaps after the accident. But Will tells her the truth. Amadeo died, and they don't know the cause. In the morning, he sees the housekeeper carrying away the suitcase from the package, claiming Milton had asked for it. Will protests. Rose comes down from her room, recognizes the item, but before she can explain, Milton arrives. He says he just wanted tea with her. Rose becomes anxious and asks her husband if he opened the suitcase. Will replies, "We'll open it when you get better." She insists that she's already better and accuses him of turning their home into a morgue. Will retorts that she has a very convenient amnesia. They argue, but Milton interrupts them. Outside, Will tells the man that he needs the photos to clear Raven's name. Milton begs him to stop digging, so Rose doesn't relive the horror and lose her children. He reminds him that stepfathers don't get custody either, and says one must protect the ones they love. That evening, Will drives home, pulls over, and completely exhausted, falls asleep in the car. He's woken by a message from Becca. He goes to her, but the girl says she hasn't spoken to Rose in a long time, then starts hitting on him again. A flash, and Candy takes a photo. She isn't going to blackmail him, but asks him to listen. The nanny tells him what really happened. Rose had called Milton, argued with him, then started packing. She repeated obsessively that she was guilty and needed to find the guy who sent the package. Then they went to Normandy. The locals threw stinking crabs at their door, and Rose went to the bar to fight with them. Amadeo caught a cold. Rose met the young man on the beach and then seemed to lose her mind. She locked herself in the bedroom and wouldn't let anyone in. In the morning, Candy found the baby dead, panicked, and fled. At that time, Rose was with Milton. He gave her pills and tried to kiss her. Will pounded on his door, but to no avail. Then, the young man from Normandy appeared. It turns out Pierre had been the photographer's household assistant and never touched the camera. Rose had come running with the suitcase and hidden it among the rocks. He had touched her, and she screamed, bringing the police. After his release from prison, he found the hiding place. Pierre shows a photo, a hand with Milton's ring. Will calls the man and says it was him who raped Rose, and that there is proof. At that moment, Rose overhears the conversation, goes to the suitcase, and remembers everything. Milton lets Will into the house. He says that people at the top always cover for their own, and threatens to have him jailed for burying his son, claiming Rose belongs to him. And then Rose shoots him, screaming that he lied to her. Milton insists he did it all for her love. Will tells his wife that she is needed by her family and leads her away. Milton is left alone with Pierre. The couple leaves and hears gunfire, and in the morning, the man is found near his gallery. Will and Rose leave for Italy to the same Bay of Silence, and the girls cheerfully cover their stepfather with sand. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.